Hello everyone and welcome to another Transfer Rumour Show. We're getting towards the middle of July and I must admit Liverpool fans starting to get a little bit nervous, especially with the news this morning that Manchester City have broken their transfer record to get Rodri out of Atletico Madrid. But we have to remember we are still right in the midst of silly season. Remember, this is a time where Brighton are valuing Lewis Dunk at £40 million. A teenager who's played less than 60 games going for over £100 million. So maybe it's not the best time to dip into the market. Maybe it's best we wait a little bit. Hoping to inject a little bit of sanity alongside me, I've got Sean Rogers and Andy Heaton. And I want to start with a rumour that is the first new name linked with Liverpool for quite some time. It's Real Madrid central midfielder Dani Ceballos, a 22-year-old who has been at Real Madrid for 2 years now. Doesn't look like he's going to get a lot of first-team football. He was meant to be seen as the vanguard of this new midfield. He was meant to be a successor to Luka Modric, but as we know, Luka Modric is still reigning Ballon d'Or, so he's not going anywhere. So it looks like he's going to be on the move, Sean. He's a tricky attacking midfielder. Can you see him working his way into our side and our squad?
Yeah, he's the Modric reigning Ballon d'Or until Alisson and Van Dijk share it this year in the first ever sharing.
He's got a few more weeks left.
Yeah, so stylistically possibly, and Liverpool, it's exactly the kind of player Liverpool would have been looking at. I think the only problem you've got is the midfield area. There's so many question marks on it. I would guess that Klopp and his team are going to want to give them 12 months to see how it pans out. I think they'd have to make assumptions on it. So if you brought a new midfield player in, I think they're assuming how Oxlade-Chamberlain's fitness is going to hold up. They're assuming how Naby Keita is going to continue to progress. You're assuming will Milner's legs fall off. You've got to make assumptions on it. Are you going to get the same Jordan Henderson? It's a bit like when Gerrard does the 13-14 season. Like, Jordan's young enough to think that he'll continue. But, you know, was that the passion of the title and the European Cup and having to do that? And are you going to get a dip from a player like that thereafter? I think that Klopp probably has to give them the season to see how that all pans out. And if you were going to make any midfield additions, it'd be next season. Knowing how Liverpool plan in advance, maybe that's what is going on there. So I don't think you'll see any moves in centre midfield this season. But I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool are getting things in place for the next two summer transfer windows. Midfield,
we do have a lot of them at the moment, Andy, but there is potentially some doubt over some of them. And if you look at the reports at the moment, Spurs do seem to be in pole position for the player. There's a lot of talk about some kind of buyback option involved as well. But there has also been the option of a season-long loan floated around. Now, with, as Sean was saying, some uncertainty about some of our midfield options, could you see this be something that Klopp goes for? We haven't done it a lot in the past, but the idea of giving him a chance to trial to see if he does fit with us, and then if need be, we can then make an option to sign him at the end of the season.
I don't, to be honest, mate, because I just don't think he gets the game time. I think it's on the last transfer show as well. In midfield, it's weird because we know we've got more world-class players in defence and more world-class players in attack. The bigs are two strongest areas of defence and attack. I don't think that's up for debate, to be fair. But you could see how those areas could be supplemented easier than you could supplement the midfield, which is a bit weird. I just think any kind of move in that direction puts a massive question mark over Naby Keita, who I think has shown progression. And also as well, you're putting a lot of pressure on a kid. You bring him from Spain to slot straight in. I mean, how are you going to convince him? His first question is going to be, how many games am I going to get? Well, how are you expected to prove myself if I'm only going to get X amount of games? You know, could actually harm his career. Especially when, look, at the end of the day, Real Madrid's stock is so high that the kid's probably got his pick of clubs. It's not like when Madrid offloaded Arjen Robben to Bayern Munich all that time ago, and you know Arjen Robben knew that he was pretty much the finished product. He had everything there, and he didn't have anything to prove. I just think it's a case of, yet again, our name being thrown in. Again, these reports are from Spain as well.
They are reports from
exactly.
Spain.
I mean, European champions, you know, so if you're going to link a player that you want out with any club, who are you most likely to link them to? You're not linking them with Everton, are you? Who cares? I mean, that's where the Spanish teams do send the drops.
I mean, to be fair, they've also linked with Arsenal, and Arsenal clearly don't seem to have £45 million.
And also look how Arsenal's last loan from Spain ended, Denis Suarez. You know what I mean?
I can't believe Andy got a dig on Everton. It's not like it.
Yeah, incredible.
Anyway, any shape.
But you got a good point there is that and there's lots of good points, but a really good point I think is you see the stuff in the New York Times. You see now I don't really recall any scouting or transfer network having this much publicity in the last 6 to 12 months, ever really. Certainly not in European football. So if teams can make it look convincing that Liverpool are being linked, it's not just the player. You just wonder whether we're that piece, because people go, we know what their record's like in the transfer market. If Liverpool really are looking after this player, it goes on in youth football a lot. A lot of players Liverpool have gone after at young levels. Liverpool have such a good network there that you've always got the risk that the clubs can just go to Man City or a Chelsea, who might not have been doing any scouting, and go, we've had Liverpool here for 6 weeks watching this lad.
But then the other side to that, though, Sean, is you mentioned that yourself. Liverpool are 2 years ahead with this thing, and I think the execution of the Fabinho transfer last year shows just how, when it's done correctly. Look, we could get dragged into a saga. Who's to say we're not? But I think that's the benchmark. I mean, even the way we dealt with the Keita thing when we signed him a year before to secure him, the way we managed to turn things around with Southampton, the way the deal was done with Fabinho out the blue, where we've obviously spoken to the club. I don't believe for 1 second that if Liverpool are in for a big move this summer, and I do believe they will, that they haven't got it 90% bolted down. And it might be whether because the Copa America's going on, or the African nations is still going on. You just don't know. Or maybe just players are still on holiday. You know, it's accepted. I think what you've seen with Liverpool, just everything's done with the minimum of fuss. And you know what? It doesn't do Liverpool any particular harm for people to be circulating their name, because it just keeps us in profile again. It keeps people talking about us. And you know, also, if we are looking at doing deals on the quiet, if people are looking, still misdirection, if people are looking left, we can work right.
That's a good point, actually. I didn't even consider that, because the whole idea of people using our name as cachet increases our cachet. It's by saying, look, we are still this valuable team, this valuable club, the European champions, as you mentioned, and even the mention of us is enough to get everyone else excited. I'm going to start the most scale for this one, because I'm going to pretty much assume what both of you guys are going to say, and I'm going to agree with you. I don't think this is going to happen. I think Ceballos is a lot more likely to end up at West Ham, somewhere like that, maybe on a season-long loan deal, someone who will give him those minutes to be able to show what he can do, and he will probably try and force his way back into the Real Madrid squad. So, Danny, I'm giving you just the one vote. Sean, what are you saying?
Agreed. I think any clubs seriously interested in him would be briefing his agent to try and get a loan move to England, somewhere where he is going to get games, and say, we're going to watch you, we're going to monitor you, and then we make the move next summer. So I'm going one man.
No doubt the kid would probably love to move to Liverpool, because like every other footballer who wouldn't. No, seriously though, how many players are there in the continent going, get me that move to Liverpool? Yeah. We just decide that people don't really talk about the amount of times the player drives a deal. But for me, no Mo's again.
0. Well, there you go. The first new name in the Liverpool transfer rumour mill for the last 2 or 3 days has been shot down in flames, just like all the others. We will probably have to wait and see, but rest assured that when we do make our move, it's going to be someone you're excited about. So, in lieu of all these more big rumours, we're going to have a little bit of news about some transfer dealings that we have done that you may not have heard about. First of all, the outgoings. 2 young players have made their moves after being released by Liverpool. Forward Bobby Akinade is now joined up with Lazio. Adekanye? Yeah. Sorry, mate. Autocorrect. No, you're right. He's moved on to Lazio, a 4-year deal. It's been expected. Liverpool received just under £250,000 in compensation for him. And Connor Masterson, pretty sure I got that one right, under 21 international for Ireland defender. He managed to make the bench a couple of times last season, but never made a senior appearance. He has moved on for a 2-year deal to Queen's Park Rangers. And another update that's not yet official, but it's quite interesting. Junior Firpo, the Real Betis left back who was mentioned in one of our shows last week, he's been mentioned again in dispatches as part of a swap deal with our Lord Divock Origi, who apparently is interesting Real Betis owners and management. Now, obviously, we have quite a high valuation of Divock at the moment, so it remains to be seen whether or not they will be willing to match that. But the idea of us having a player they want, them having a player we want. We'll have to wait and see whether anything develops from that.
Just on that, so I know we spoke about this on a previous show about when players are looking to do deals. So the Junior Firpo news and gossip came from Spain. Mm-hmm. And what I know it's not like a scratch record here, but basically it just shows you how these things work. So the club are obviously looking to capitalise on Junior Firpo's value. Mm-hmm. And then the Origi link, so Liverpool dismissed links that they're interested in this player. Oh, well, what about if it's Divock? I mean, it couldn't be, I'm not saying to come and get me please in Liverpool, but it just keeps the story rolling and rolling and rolling. And to be honest, I'd be very, very surprised if, the mad thing with Origi, he was linked with somewhere else this week for 10 million, wasn't he? And we wouldn't even sell him to Wolves last year for 20, and this is before, you know, he single-handedly won Liverpool the European Cup, so, yeah, a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, the other thing with this news as well that I think has got some people excited is obviously if we were to move on Origi, then that would mean we would definitely be looking to bring in another attacker, which obviously a lot of people would be quite pleased about. But Sean, Andy is right, a lot of the time it is just one nugget of news trying to feed the other, just trying to keep a story bubbling along.
Yeah, I think he's got his eyes on Real Madrid, and I think Real Betis would love to sell him to Real Madrid, and maybe.
I thought you meant Divock.
Who's to say he hasn't?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and well, with the way Real Madrid played last year, they probably need Divock, to be fair. So, I think they're trying to use Liverpool in that way to try and either drive the price or force Madrid's hand. I think Origi's defo going to stay for the season. I think one thing that you'll probably see with Liverpool is there's so much business to be done. I think Liverpool will be looking at loans. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is a summer where if Liverpool do bring someone in, it could be a meaty loan. That's the one thing I would say, is that, especially a forward, in that if you were going to add a forward, you can see there being a bit of a merry-go-round in Europe where there might be some egos bruised more in a month's time than they are now. And clubs won't have the chance, the opportunity, the time to move them on. So I think you'll see, whether it's Liverpool or not, it's different. I think you'll see a lot of late loan moves for players, especially European players with the European Championships ahead. There'll be a lot of players wanting to make sure that they're not just in squads, that they're in teams.
That's a very interesting point there, Sean. Something I would kind of wanted to extrapolate into Liverpool, because there's been a new report talking about how our players out on loan have been growing in value year on year. I think they increased collectively £21 million worth in value. Now, a lot of that was mainly Harry Wilson and Marco Grujic, but it does show that that loan system that has been slightly frustrating for some does seem to be bearing fruit. But let's look at the other side of loans coming into Liverpool. It's not something that Jurgen Klopp has typically done over his time in Liverpool. But as you say, we mentioned previously, obviously, with midfield, but it works in other areas, that there may well be some movements that happen late on, and therefore it's going to be something that we might need to consider. Yeah,
I think definitely. I think you see a few big moves around Europe already mooted. There'll be more. There's going to be panic buying. There just has to be. Even if you just look at England, you can see Manchester United panic buying for definite. You can see possibly Arsenal to a lower extent doing some mad stuff. And then you look around Europe at your Barcelonas, your PSGs, maybe even Munich, to be fair, in terms of various chain reactions, if you like. And if you think about it, if you've got a forward that you could bring in on loan, it's an easy sell to the squad. If he ends up being some kind of arsehole and not fitting, you don't really lose anything out of that. Mm-hmm. If it's really good, then already, I think in the next 3 or 4 years, you'll see us move Mane, Firmino, Salah on in a staged way. Certainly over the next 5 seasons, maybe not starting next summer. So Liverpool, for succession planning, what would be better than trying to get a few of them in? I wouldn't be surprised if you see Dembele available on loans, being an obvious one, and I think there'll be many more.
It's an interesting point because we've seen, particularly in midfield and in attack, players take a while to assimilate to the way we want to play. So it is kind of like an extended audition to see if they do fit. I can see the look on your face and tell me you're not buying this one.
I just think we talk up this 2-year scouting profile and 2-year build-up and 2 years research. So I just think it flies in the face of that. I think it's just flies in the ethos of it. If we carefully, if we're planning 2 years ahead, then why do we have to go and get a loan on that? I mean, don't get me wrong. there is a scenario, put it this way, I don't think we would loan anyone who we weren't hell-bent on signing regardless. It might just be because of the circumstance with that club. They say, well, we're not going to sell him this year. But
similar with Naby Keita, basically.
Yeah, essentially. So, I mean, I don't think they're in for Dembele, but let's just say for argument's sake that they were. You know, Barca going, well, no, look, what we want to do is we give him for the year on loan with a condition to sign, and we might go, well, we wanted to sign him anyway, so yeah, we'll go for it. And it gives you a little bit of wiggle room. I mean, depending on the legalities, how you type the contracts and whatnot. But I don't think we'd loan someone for a loan's sake. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean? I mean, it'd have to be someone on the radar, unless they... And there's the other side of it as well, that technically, the Mbappe to PSG when he was technically on loan for a year. for the sake of...
Yes.
I've got to be careful how I phrase this.
I mean...
Accounting purposes.
Yes. I think we all know what you mean.
So, who knows? But no, I don't think... I mean, unless Stephen Clark is suddenly available again.
Hey. Or Albie.
It just seems... He wouldn't be on loan. Albie wouldn't be on loan, would he? I mean, that'd be a mad one. But you know what? I mean... If we're left without any left-back cover come the first week in the season, then I'll be still kicking around. Second coming, Pastoni, Everton.
Honestly,
it's always left-backs as well.
On a serious note with FSG, you know, look at how they've made the money. You look at what they are absolute experts in, and it is reading markets. That's their mainstream skill set and expertise. Now, this is a seller's market right now. This is not a buyer's market due to the wild prices and the inflation. You then look at the panic buying going on, the amount of clubs that need to restructure, another reason why it's not a buyer's market for me. And that's where I think if you're FSG, you would go, we keep the ink dry this summer. And that's ultimately what you would want to do. Plan in advance, everything like that. I just wonder whether, though, if certain moves happen and Liverpool have got their eyes on certain players, because it's not a buyer's market, I just think if this was any other business of FSG's, they would adapt to the market forces. And this is sell high and then take advantage of big clubs that have got players that you want. And that's the tricky thing. You just don't know which. Probably the clubs Liverpool want players from aren't going to loan. That's the problem. You know, if Liverpool wanted players at Barcelona, Real Madrid, whatever, that they're not going to get the game time, then that's what opens the door to the loan move. The chances are Liverpool will go at a lower club, wait till next summer.
Yeah, no. When you look at it from those perspectives, the kinds of deals like Chelsea or Kovacic should tend to be the ones, like you say, and specifically with another tournament coming up, the Euros coming up in the summer, like you said earlier, people are going to be trying to get into squads. The thing that I think might actually lend to this is that we have been doing all this long research, but part of that allows you to strike quickly if the right person, someone you already know and have already done due diligence on, maybe even agreed personal terms with, suddenly becomes available, then it can be done quickly. I'm thinking of also, we're going to have players who are going to be coming back from those international tournaments this summer late, so there's going to be a situation where we may have to make contingency plans for early in the season that may not necessarily be as pertinent late in the season.
Yeah, so I'll throw one in right now. You know, I can easily see a world where Lovren plays for Leicester. I can see Leicester getting the Harry Maguire deal in, needing a centre-half, the way that they play, Brendan Rodgers' relationship beforehand. You do pre-season, Matip, Gomez, hopefully stay fit. You've got the two kids coming through. You've got Fabinho who can do a job there. There's a dearth of centre-backs out there at that level for Leicester to go after. You can easily see a move happening there. Now, if you know that they've got money in the bank and something massive happens, that's what I mean. It's a seller's market for me, and you could see some deals being done which then just don't give time for people to react. Whereas with us, with the way that we work now, you're dead right. We will be able to jump on things pretty quickly, pretty rapidly. And it might not be a big name. You know, it might be that Liverpool are able to jump on something where they go, you know, imagine Andy Robertson as an example, something like that. It might be a player far less valued, far lower valuations.
At least.
Exactly, until we, you know, convert them into a legend.
So basically what we're telling you is that just because there's silence here doesn't mean there is silence behind the scenes. And also, you're probably going to have to wait till late in the window to see Liverpool make some real proper moves. But I want to say a big thank you to Andy, to Sean and to Neil for the radar. We'll see you again.